ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by GEICO with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Big test in Houston awaits the Bears in primetime. Bears, Texans, a reigning division winner with a wild scene expected at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak, and we're on to week 2 after the Bears' thrilling come-from-behind win over the Tennessee Titans. Welcome to episode 93 of the Bears Etc. podcast, and it's brought to you by GEICO. Tom, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Ready to go. It's Wednesday. It's work week. Looking forward to Sunday night football. It's going to be an environment that some of these rookies have never seen before, and it's going to be an incredible learning and growing experience for the Bears as a team.
Going to be a white out, meaning a white jersey, white pants, and probably a lot of white hankies or towels in the crowd of 72,000 plus there in Houston. And the Bears wearing orange, so we're going to have a creamsicle game, Tommy.
Well, listen, wear white gloves and wear white sleeves, because it's dangerous when you have that offsetting color, because then holding calls are more easily seen by the offensive line and the defensive back. So understand the importance of making sure you try to match their color.
Coming up, we have the voices of the Houston Texans joining us. All four of us break down this matchup and talk about all things broadcasting NFL football. Also, Kevin Byard, a portion of the interview that you will see on Bears Game Day Live, 10:30 Sunday morning, live from Houston and NRG Stadium, and the Bears player profile. Okay, as you had a chance to really go through this tape one more time as we look back, in order to look forward, offensively, where are the things that are correctable that could really advance the Bears' offense immediately against a very good defensive team there in Houston, with the Texans especially on the edges with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., who is the reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year, as is C.J. Stroud, the Offensive Rookie of the Year from the Houston Texans that made it to the playoffs and won the AFC South last year.
Number one is the offensive line, tackle to tackle, has to play a more physical brand of football. If they don't go out and match the intensity of what the Houston puts on the field defensively week in and week out, the Bears are going to have a really difficult time competing against these guys. And so you need to be able to provide the pass protection for Caleb and what he's growing through. And just in the running game, you got to set that standard. That's one thing about the Bears in the last couple of years. No matter where they've gone, they've been able to run the ball effectively and physically. I just think, and then when you look at Caleb himself, he's got to have more patience in himself. He's got to be able to understand that when he calls a play in the huddle, understand the protection, and then be able to have time, according to the play call, to make sure that you have enough time in your mind to do what you're responsible to do. But I think if there was any one thing that I would want to point out, it would be the offensive line must be more physical in their performance.
Let's get a bird's eye view from the quarterback, Caleb Williams, to the podium on Wednesday at Hallis Hall.
Yeah, I think it was around 6 throws that, obviously we would have hit those. Everything would have seemed a lot different. Throws that, we hit in practice all the time on simple routes, on intermediate, and then, the 1 or 2 deep balls. If you hit those, the game, everything kind of explodes. And things would have been said differently about how we played on offense. And so, we're here getting better. Obviously, it was week 1 for us. We came out with the win. We're really excited for that, like I said before. And then, just getting back out here, make sure we're focused on the small things, the details, whether it's myself of footwork, drops, things like that, or whether it's the routes, whether it's the run game, hand placements, all these other things when blocking, to make sure that, as an offense, we're successful.
Does it feel good to get that first game in the NFL out of the way and now to kind of focus on what you saw and now what?
Yeah, definitely. I going into that game, it was a little weird for me because it's my first game, and we didn't really have anything on the D coordinator. So it was a little weird for me. But when I got out there, I was seeing it well. Missed a few passes, obviously, but going back and watching the film, I was in the right place when I was throwing the ball. Like I said, I had a few also batted balls, but going to the right places, seeing it well, making some O-line, adjustments and things like that. Having good communication on the sideline with my teammates and coaches for adjustments, or just, constantly communicating with them. So I think the process, throughout that game was well, whether it was mental or the small things, on the sideline, or, like I said, communicating with everybody. I think, that process was well. So that was encouraging to see. And then so waking up, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday morning, you woke up and you realized that, you won your first game in the NFL, regardless of how you felt of your performance. We won the first game and, felt super excited. Felt super excited about, not necessarily how I actually performed, but, like I said, being able to come out with that win and being able to help lead these guys to that win. And so, feels good, really excited. It builds confidence when you come out and do that. And like I said, we're building on the small things, make sure we get the small things down so we can go dominate and have fun doing it, when we get out there in the field as a team, as a collective. So, yes, felt really good.
Caleb, what's of your game that you could improve from week 1 to week 2? What do you think it would be?
Yeah, I would say the drops. Sometimes I rush my drop a little bit, not needing to. One specific route that I can think of is Rome when he was, or I think it was a 10-yard route right over the ball, and I rushed my drop and then tried to juice it in there a little bit and missed. I didn't need to. Just trying to hurry up and get the ball to him, get in his hands fast as possible so he can make magic and do what he does. And so just making sure trusting the drop, trusting the reads and things like that. And getting through them, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that I'm focused on. And then, my finishes on my play fakes or anything like that.
Caleb, inaccuracy has been something that some of the best quarterbacks in the league have struggled with throughout their rookie year before becoming really good at it.
Yep.
Was there anything you saw Sunday that gives you a confidence that it'll be a quicker fix than that for you?
Yeah, I think having a realization, like I said before, understanding that, it's not throws that I usually miss throughout all the time that I've been playing quarterback, and all the practice that I've had and with other teams here, Chicago, all these other things and moments and games and all of that. So I think that's one. And then also understanding it's the NFL. They got good players on the other side. They're gonna make plays, like a few batted balls that we had. Right spot, going the right spot, throwing the right shoulder, all these other things. Trying to throw it over back, or all these other things that sometimes a player's going to get his arm up, bat it down. So I think having an understanding of those two things is really important to keep growing and progressing, and to not lose faith in whether it's the play, the team, yourself, offense, run, whatever the case may be. Keep that confidence and understand that we obviously didn't play as we wanted to, as well as we wanted to, and we came out 24-17. Chicago Bears win.
For as good of a season, or great of a season that C.J. Stroud had last year, it took him a little bit before he became as good as he was. Are there parallels that you can draw just at the early part of your career as a rookie who's trying to do the same thing?
I more so was looking at, like, say for instance, I was looking at the NFL this past weekend, and I'm looking at all the teams and things like that, and realizing that, like I've said in many other interviews, that the job is hard, NFL is hard, and the defense is going to make it tough on you. So, that's what they're going to do day or week in and week out. So, comparing that to myself in his rookie year. Typically guys coming in, they have to figure it out and things like that. And so, that's what we're doing right now. Didn't have, obviously, the performance that I wanted to. So trying to figure it out as fast as possible and, making sure that we're all on the same page, making sure that we're, handling the things that we need to handle. Because like I said, all the small things become a lot larger on game day. And so, make sure we handle those things, myself included, and progress from there. But, speaking on that and getting back to what I was saying about the NFL, the guys in the NFL this week, quarterback-wise, you go and watch. It wasn't necessarily week 16 for even the guys that, have been playing ball for 10, 15 plus years. It's always going to be a little rough patch. So understanding that, maintaining your confidence, if not growing it, because obviously, realizing that you can, keep getting better. And so that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. And we're excited about it.
What are you expecting to see from the Texans defense?
Yeah, I expect them to be aggressive. I expect them to be, excited to get out there, be in front of their home crowd. I believe they played at the Colts last week. So, get out there, be excited, be aggressive, running around, playing well, playing together. That's how they coach it. I would say is that, they play well, play together, fly around, tackle, all these other things. And we get to go versus a great defense again this week. So we're excited. I know they're going to be out there excited. I know that the stadium's going to be rocking. So, getting to practice, preparing for that. We're all excited. Go Bears.
One thing we know about Caleb already, he's very aware. He's very aware of everything around him, how he explains it. He's very open in how he explains what he feels he needs to work on. And the fact of the matter is, it is true. A half a dozen passes here or there, you extend a play, you get first downs. They only had 2 third-down conversions. And now you're talking about not having that big time of possession difference in the first half. You're talking about maybe some touchdowns. You're talking about a different version of the Bears offense in week 1.
Right. And Caleb, when you have time, take your time. When you understand the types of passes that you want to throw, you've thrown them a million times. Just throw them as efficiently as you have throughout your course of your football life in practice and in games. And I expect Caleb's curve to be huge. I don't think he's going to be a slow process of improvement. However, given the circumstances of what they're going to go into in Houston, it is going to be more difficult. But just make sure that you put into motion the things you practice. And like you said, he's very aware of the things that he needs to do to become a better quarterback in the NFL, and it's evident and obvious by the things he says at the podium.
And even it's the passing game in terms of amount of yards you have to throw the football. I strongly feel that these weapons are all catch and run guys. So, again, when you're talking about finding your skill, letting your skill do your thing, let them do their thing. Some of those 3rd and shorts, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, I call those 3rd and shorts. They're actually 3rd and mediums in NFL vernacular. But, let them go and throw it 2 yards, make them go get the other 3 or 4. I think these guys are very capable of that. On 10 yards or more, next-gen stats, Caleb was 0 for 7 passing the football on his way to the 14 for 29 in that day. But his 11-yard scramble on 3rd down, you often in the past have said, and these were non-running quarterbacks, so he's in that category. He doesn't look to run, looks to throw. You often come up with a key to the game in the past. Quarterback X has to pick up 3 first downs with his legs. That's 12 plays. That's 12 additional plays. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. I'm 100%.
Now, with Caleb on the road at Houston, with really good exterior pass rushers on the outside, if that middle's open, you take the green grass and pick up a few first downs with your legs. How important would that be by Caleb?
So important. But you said it, with the exterior outside pass rushers they have here, if the 2 tackles can escort them to the outside and upfield, and then the interior 3 can take care of the 2 rushers on the inside, maybe there will be some invited opportunities for Caleb to run and get a couple first downs. But maybe that same type of pass rush may afford Caleb to get the ball into the hands of Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet a few more times in the game. Because I think as much as we been talking about this wide receiver group all preseason, still the running backs that can catch the ball, DeAndre Swift and Cole and Gerald Everett, I think if you can simply put the ball into their hands for that 3 or 5 yard distance and allow them to get a couple yards after completion, then you're talking about the offense getting that first down and, staying on the field.
We are brought to you by Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. As of this taping, we don't know what the injury report's going to look like, but it will certainly have Keenan Allen on it, Roma Dunze, to say the least. That's two weapons that may or may not be ready to go. We'll find out as the week rolls on. Short of that, where does your attention then go if that's the case? DJ had a good game, had a couple good catches on good throws by Caleb, and of course you mentioned the tight ends, and let's not forget DeAndre Swift out of the backfield.
Right, and listen, Tyler Scott, this guy, he's a burner. He came up at the end of the preseason and really made an impression on me that maybe he could be ready to take the next step. And then when you talk about such an early process of the regular season, if he gets on the active roster, listen, if I would go into the game and I would see myself on the inactive list, I would put it in my sole intentions to make sure I do something on the practice field to impress the coaches and the special teams coordinator to let them know that I should be a game day active. Here's your opportunity, young man. If you go into that stadium and you make a couple of those big catches and a couple of big plays that you were able to do in the preseason, right there, you're elevating yourself into that receiver position that maybe you're a week-to-week game day active.
Bears defense played extremely well in the second half of that football game. Overall, limited third down opportunities, kept things in check. It had to adjust to the run game. Pollard had some good runs in that game, but overall they shrunk the defense down and put a lot of pressure on Will Levis. We're going to talk to Kevin Byard here in a moment, more of a feature interview that I did with him, but we'll hear from him in a minute. But I was thinking about this. First of all, DeMarcus Walker, I just saw him in the locker room before we started taping this podcast, and he had this look in his eye. I go, hey, man, nice job, nice job. You know, we forget, he had 4 quarterback pressures. His pressures resulted in the 2 interceptions. The Jalen Johnson at the end of the game, the Tyreek Stevenson pick 6, that was so crucial in this game. And then I think about Andrew Billings. Andrew Billings, I tell you what, that's an invaluable guy. Like, there's not another Andrew Billings that you can just slip in there and say, okay, go to work. No, Andrew Billings is a vital piece to this defensive puzzle, and he is the value is really high right now.
So we talk about the versatility of the offense and defensive line. The first play on offense, they were an unbalanced line, and right tackle Darnell Wright was lined up to the far left outside shoulder of Braxton Jones. It was the 5th or 6th play of the defense. Andrew Billings was lined up at the defensive end outside the left tackle, and DeMarcus Walker was lined up over the offensive guard. DeMarcus Walker got pressure and made the play there. So you're talking about Billings and the versatility of the 2 lines. If you can do that and you can incorporate some athleticism at a more dangerous point of attack and then get results from it, all of a sudden you're starting to increase the preparation of your opponent. And if Billings can do what he did on the inside from this past week, but maybe be a big run stopper on first down at the outside end position, you're talking about the type of versatility that you like you said, you only see it really from a few guys of that size, strength, and power.
Yeah, 30 attempts in the run game for the Houston Texans. New running back Joe Mixon. That doesn't happen very much. Last year, only 6 running backs in the league ran the ball 30 times in a game. That tied his career high. You had the young man over there in San Francisco getting the start as an undrafted rookie a couple of years ago. He had 28 carries. Interesting I bring it up because Slowick is a part of that tree of Shanahan. I kept listening to the 49ers broadcast the other night, Monday night, and hearing about a magic number is now 30 rushing attempts for Kyle Shanahan. Here, Joe Mixon, it's that magic number. Slowick is a disciple, 30. Are we expecting this in this tree branches of the Shanahan, Sean McVay tree to start pounding the football a little bit more? 30 carries is a lot for a back.
Right. So if I got DeAndre Swift and I got Rashawn Johnson and I got Khalil Herbert, if you give me that, Mark, I want give me 35 carries in the course of a game if I have 75 plays, and I will distribute them amongst them all. I don't need one guy to give me 30 carries, but if you give me 30 carries, Jeff, that average 4 yards per carry, I'll be celebrating with pom-poms. And that's what I would like to see. And, that's one thing, that's what Joe Mixon did week 1 of the NFL season. If you did that weekly, would you wear them out by week 11 in an NFL season? If you have a stable of backs like the Bears have done over the last couple of years, and it was spread out by a variety of guys, I would like to see that. If the Bears came, if we are doing this podcast at the last game of the year, say, wow, the Bears have averaged 4 point or 4.1 yards per carry, I would say the Bears are doing pretty well, and they have a winning record.
All right, let's listen to Kevin Byard again, our sit-down for Bears Game Day Live, our player profile. It all begins with passion on this Bears defense. They're trying to find as many players as possible, team-wide, but specifically defensively that play with passion. Where did that passion get born in Kevin Byard?
Never really had the opportunity to play youth sports growing all the way up. I didn't even actually play my first youth football game until 8th grade. So it was pretty much just growing up in the neighborhood. Obviously, my father, my family was big Eagles fans growing up. I was a Steelers fan, so they didn't really like that. But growing up watching Troy and that that great Steelers defense was very exciting. And just the urge that once I was able to get out there and actually play with the guys, it was one of those experiences that you didn't want to let go. And that's kind of where the game grew, the love of the game grew, and it just kind of took it off from then.
And you've never stopped.
Never stopped.
From going from a team where you were beloved, and you beloved that city in Tennessee, Nashville, and then getting traded by that team, being released by the Philadelphia Eagles, and then signing here. That's a whirlwind, but yet you transitioned quickly enough to be named a captain again. You're one of the new guys here, not in the league, but what does that say about Kevin Byard?
Yeah, I just try to be myself. I didn't try to come in and try to make it an effort to put my personality, place my personality on this team. It just naturally, organically happened. I think that's just the respect of the guys on the team that they have for me, just the way I come to work every single day, the type of person I am every single day. And I do feel like I'm a natural leader by trade, just a natural born leader. But we have a lot of great leaders on this team. So I always said that all pros and Pro Bowls are very nice. Everybody wants those. But I think the two most respected or the most highest honors you can get in the league is Walter Payton Man of the Year and being voted a team captain. I think we play this game, obviously the respect of your opponents, but the respect of the people in your organization. And so, like I said, to be voted captain is definitely one of the higher honors that I definitely don't take lightly.
At one point, you were the highest paid safety in the NFL. You never miss practice. You're one of the best takeaway players in the NFL. You've been captains on 2 teams. Your resume screams excellence. And the way you carry yourself also screams maturity and leadership, as you pointed out. Are you almost underrated for everything that you've accomplished up to this point? Because, and you're still doing it at a high level. I just get the sense that may be true. At one point, you were also a top 40 NFL player, and the top 100 voted by your peers, though. So maybe not.
Well, I mean, I always kind of felt like I've been underrated. I was a 2-star prospect coming out of high school. Didn't have a lot of offers. Kentucky pulled their offer, so I ended up going to Middle Tennessee State. Didn't get invited to the combine. Most people don't know that as well.
No comment.
So
it's in my notes.
So obviously, I've been underrated throughout my entire journey, and I think that's where the chip on my shoulder comes from. But also just my upbringing, having a lot of siblings, watching my mom go to work every single day and do what she did. That's where the humbleness comes from, the appreciation and the gratitude of every single day. Because I lost my mom a couple years ago, and so I just try to wake up every day with just gratitude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a very confident person, but I'm also humble at the same time to know that everything that I've done and accomplished, I've worked very hard for. And I know that if I want to continue to have the success, I have to continue to work and continue to grind. And this journey, for me, my football journey is far from over. So I have a lot of work to still put in. So if I want to get to the, obviously the place I want to get to is obviously being a Super Bowl champion and things like that and more things that accomplish my career, I had to continue to work. So I just keep my head down, keep working, and I'll look up and kind of really cherish everything I've accomplished once I'm done playing.
Byard and Brisker has a ring to it. The B&B brothers, the Bam Bam. I don't know. I'm going to come up with something during the game that's just going to resonate.
I know you will.
Do you feel that connective tissue with this emerging player entering his third year?
Yeah, Brisker is an exciting player to play with. I really enjoy just being in the meetings, just his mentality. I've said this before, but he definitely reminds me of myself when I was a younger player. When I was a younger player, I still have a chip on my shoulder, but the chip was so huge that, like you said, being underrated and feel like, every single day, whether it was practice, in the game, I had to go out there and prove myself and make sure that by the end of the game, everybody knew my name. And I see that energy from Brisker, and I just enjoy watching him. And I think he's going to have a big year, 100%. I don't want to make any predictions of what he's going to do, but I'm super excited to watch him this year.
So I've been thinking this through, too, because you present to me as a guy that if you wanted to, if you love the game, you can enter the coaching realm after. Maybe you'll be media because you're a great talker. But, I'm thinking, okay, I know that Don Shula was a defensive back in the NFL, one of the best coaches in NFL history. Tony Dungy was a defensive back. Todd Bowles was a heck of a DB at safety. Dick LeBeau, one of the best interceptors.
That's my guy.
You know Dick LeBeau.
Absolutely.
And Kevin Byard. Could you? That's a thinking man's position. It's a leadership position. It's a settling position. Everything that we're looking at you for this year for this team, a blend of veterans and young players. Do you ever see that in your future potentially?
Yeah, I definitely could. The way I kind of see it is that it can go a lot of different ways. Like you mentioned media. I'm actually experimenting with some media stuff this year as well. So, I just wanted to be able to put as many stuff out there to kind of see what post-career will look like. I think the first thing that my wife will for sure want me to do when I'm done playing is kind of take some time off a little bit, spend some time with the family. Exactly. But no, I definitely could see coaching in the future, right? If it's in pro football or if it's, high school, college, or anything like that. I'm just, like I said, appreciative of everything I've learned from this game. I've been around a lot of great coaches. Like you just mentioned, Dick LeBeau was my first defensive coordinator when I got in the league. And I told you I was a Pittsburgh fan growing up. And so to be able to be in the room with him and, get so much knowledge from him. This guy didn't even have a play call sheet. He literally just called plays off the top of his head, which is, I don't know how he used to do it. But I've been around a lot of great coaches, and Mike Vrabel was obviously another great coach. And he's telling me this all the time, like, you're going to be a coach one day. You're going to be a coach one day. So you never know. Definitely just being on my feet and enjoying the moment right now.
So I know I mentioned a bunch of members of secondaries in days gone by in the NFL that became head coaches or coaches, and you were quick to point out some others that once wore the Bear uniform. Give them to me, buddy.
Geron, Jeff Fisher, Leslie Frazier, all of them defensive backs, went on to become head coaches and had great playing careers backed up by great head coaching careers. Well, when I was listening to your interview with Kevin Byard, I had a hard time. He reminds me of DJ Moore because the respect he talks with, the intelligence he talks with, the tone of voice he talks with, he reminds me, or he makes me think of a veteran that's really valuable to a football team and to a locker room. And so I was kind of sitting there listening to the interview thinking of, wow, he reminds me of how much respect I have for DJ. And it's, I think, two real assets that you can have in the locker room.
DJ, Byard, and Swift, all born in Philadelphia. Tough Philadelphia. So interesting backgrounds for all of those. Steinhoffel's is an employee-owned furniture and mattress store. Visit any of their 4 Chicagoland locations in Vernon Hills, Crystal Lake, Downers Grove, and Harwood Heights, or shop online at steinhoffels.com. And good news, Chicago, United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. All right, we had fun visiting with the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, and his sideline reporter, John Harris. Andre Ware, the veteran quarterback that we might remember from the University of Houston, is their color analyst. But we did a little breakdown of what's ahead for this matchup. A big matchup for Houston. It's the first time in a long time that they've been in a national TV spotlight on a Sunday night. And the Bears have had plenty of Sunday night opportunities, but the results have not been very good. So a tough matchup. Let's break it down with the voices of the Houston Texans. What's going on in H-Town, fellas?
Excitement galore for Sunday Night Football. It's going to be Liberty Whiteout. So everybody's encouraged to wear white to the game. I think if the Bears wore white too, that'd be very helpful, but I don't think they will. But the Texans will be decked out in their new Liberty White uniforms. It's going to be fun. Obviously, both teams coming off a win. You guys know this is awesome. It's going to be a jacked up atmosphere.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, we were just talking with Nick Casario, our GM guys, and we played in 2022. I mean, that doesn't seem like all that long ago. I mean, it was just 2 years ago. But you think about how different these two organizations are in just 2 years. I mean, you guys go through, the Justin Fields experience, and then you get to Caleb this year, and just the changes. I mean, Montez comes over last year, and just gives you guys such a boost defensively. And yeah, the secondary where you guys are starting to kind of come into shape. But for us, you look back to 2022 and you're like, man, who still exists from that team on 2022? So even though it was just 2 years ago, these teams are in incredibly different shape. And I think that's going to make Sunday night really exciting.
Well, a part of your recent success, were you guys curious of your scheduling before the schedule came out about your national audiences? This is a Sunday night game to open up your season at home. And are you happy with the way that your team is scheduled this season?
We do 14 hours of radio every week, so we have nothing better to talk about than what's the schedule going to be like. I'm kidding. The offseason is exciting. By the way, we have fewer hours in the offseason, just 5 hours of radio a week. But the point is this. Yeah, we were placing little, fun gentleman bets on what the amount of primetime games would be. Now, we have 7 national windows, including the Hall of Fame game with the Bears, 6 in the regular season, this being one of them. And we knew it would be a lot, but that's more than I thought because the Texans have the Christmas Day game. So you add that into the mix. You got a Thursday nighter at the Jets. I'm not going to go through them all, but it's a lot. And you expect it because you've got a hot quarterback and what should be a good team.
Well, we're in each other's divisions this year, so we're going to find out who wins the AFC South and the NFC North, oddly enough. And we got 3 out of the first 4 weeks. Crazy in the division.
We're both 1-0 in the AFC South. So how about that?
Yes.
Thank you for beating Tennessee. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, or maybe we can thank Will Levis for that. But either way, it's going to be pretty exciting. I mean, this is the first time we're playing a Sunday night game at home. Actually, it's our first Sunday night game at home, I think. It definitely the first Sunday night game at home in 5 years.
5 years.
Wow. We haven't been on Sunday night football since before COVID. We beat the Patriots that night, and then obviously our organization took a turn, and we had every single game at noon last year. Tom, to your question, we were at noon every single week last year until we got to week 18 against Indianapolis Colts. So to see a bunch of primetime games on the schedule this year, we were all really excited about that. We're just kind of curious where it was all going to go.
They're going to be whipped into a frenzy. And so the Bears are going to be walking into quite the trap over there in Texas. I mean, it's going to be loud.
Yeah, what did you expect? I mean, this is going to be insane. And it's kind of a part of my question because when is the last time that you've walked into a season with expectations? Because of your success last year, the expectations of your fan base is you match that and improve upon it. When is the last time going into the season that you've had expectations of this status?
Of this status, I have to go back to maybe 2012. Right now with Bill O'Brien, to be fair, look, going into 2019, we thought the team was going to be pretty good. And they went to the playoffs in 2018. That was Watson's second season, first season back from knee surgery. We thought 2019, let's go. But they made a big trade before the season, getting Laramie Tunsil. They had to get a new running back because they lost Lamar Miller in the preseason. They got Carlos Hyde. We knew they weren't as good as this team is projected to be. And Johnny, I think you'd agree after this opener, this team has a lot of potential, but you got to keep it going, obviously.
Well, I think the thing that nobody saw coming was Joe Mixon for 30 carries and 159 yards and a touchdown. Like nobody saw that coming. He was injured during training camp when I don't even know that he traveled to Ohio. I think he might have been there, but I don't remember. And I think we talked about it in the booth, guys, at the Hall of Fame game. I don't know that he was there. And then we saw him very limited in training camp. He didn't play in a preseason game. So everybody's kind of like, well, what's the deal with Joe Mixon? How's this going to look? And we saw it a little bit in the practice. We had a joint practice with the Rams, and Joe had a really good practice and thought, man, if they can put that together. But to me, it was more about the passing game. Like, okay, you can use Joe in the passing game, but look, if he runs for 75 to 80 yards, we'll be dancing in the streets. And then they just took it to a defensive front that has dominated. That Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner front has dominated us for years. I mean, even in beating them in week 18, we threw the football against them, but we couldn't run for 2 yards in that game. And then all of a sudden, here's Joe Mixon pounding, and it's 8 yards, it's 13, it's 6, it's 5. He just kept going. And we're talking during the broadcast, during breaks, like, are we seeing this? Because that got us even more excited thinking, all right, if you are the Bears, what do you go into your defensive meeting room and say, like, okay, we got to stop these 3 wide receivers, but all of a sudden, man, if we kind of play a little bit more nickel or dime even, does that mean that they're going to run Joe Mixon another 25 to 30 times, and now the Bears have to stop that? And so it just added a whole different dimension that we really didn't even see coming. We thought the running game would be better, but to do that against that team, I think, let us know maybe this is going to be a little bit better up front than we thought. And look, running against the Bears is not going to be easy. I mean, we know that front is really, really good. You know, Nick Caserio, we just had him in here, and he's like, man, if you thought the Colts were good, wait till you see the Bears. So it's not going to be easy, but just to have that element of a run game, to not allow defenses to just go, okay, well, we're gonna dare you to run and just sit back there and take away the pass. Okay, well, if you dare us to run now we can hurt you. And I think we showed that on Sunday. That was really nice to see.
So when you look at what the Houston Texans brought in, did you need both Danielle Hunter and Joe Mixon in order to get this team to the next level? Or could you have went about your business with either facet staying status quo?
You had to replace Jonathan Grenard because he was leaving via free agency. You had to find a running back, and they were in on the Barkley sweepstakes. Obviously didn't get that. Devin Singletary, Nick was very honest that they made an offer to Devin Singletary, who's now with the New York Giants. He was a pretty good back for the Texans last year. Mixon is at another level. You know, Mixon, is he Barkley? Let's not even debate it. Mixon is a really good back, and he's great in this system. And I haven't seen a back, this kind of production from a back and the potential since Arian Foster, because Arian Foster was so good for this team. Arian Foster caught the ball so well. Mixon, you look at his receptions throughout his stay in Cincinnati. We haven't had a back like that who could catch the ball like that since Arian. So I'm excited to see all the little nuances, what they can do offensively as they continue to move forward.
John, you got your master's of the University of Virginia in accounting. So let me ask you this question. Have you done the yard before contact with Mixon in week 1 and yards after contact? Because I'd be curious with those numbers.
You know, I haven't done it yet, Jeff.
Yeah, but you will. I know you. You're a deep diver.
Yeah, but with just eyes, just seeing what we saw, I think it's funny. A lot of times they say that stats are for assistant coaches, geeks and losers. Nick Cross and Julian Blackmon, the 2 safeties for the Colts, had 14 and 13 tackles respectively.
Ouch.
The other 2 corners had 16 tackles between them, and that's 43 tackles in the secondary. And it was pretty evident that Joe was getting to the 3rd level unabated a number of times. He was reeling off 8, 10, 13-yard runs, and the only people there were Cross and Blackmon. And if one of those guys ended up missing the tackle, then Joe was going to end up. There was one time I made one of them miss, and I thought he's taking that to the house, and then he stumbled and ended up being a 13-yard gain. But he got to that level, and that's really where he physically, he tried to run them over each and every time he got back there to kind of prove that he has still got that physical presence about him. But those were the guys making the tackles. So he was getting there pretty easily. But the one thing that we've seen from Joe that I think was really interesting was how fast he gets into the line of scrimmage. And when you're running that zone game, he gets into the line of scrimmage. And so what he does, and I think Tom would appreciate this, is he makes his offensive linemen right.
Yep.
No matter what the defensive tackles do, defensive ends do, just get on him. Just get a hat on a hat and let Joe go. Because if you're at least on him, you got him locked up a little bit. The only thing they can do is stick an arm out to try and tackle him. Joe's going to run through that. So he makes his offensive linemen right. And I think that was something that we hadn't had in a while, because the backs would take too much time trying to read where they were supposed to go. And Joe is 2 steps and go. And I think that really helped our offensive line just get even more physical, because they knew they could just pop off the ball and just get on a guy, just get physical with Buckner and get physical with Stewart. And then Joe's going to take care of the rest. And what that ended up being in the 4th quarter was our offensive line locking them up and giving Joe some pretty good alleyways to not take that contact, Jeff.
One thing about Mixon, he's got great angular vision. He can predict how the hole is going to open up and where his next step is going to come from. Really fun watching that on tape. So curious, we talk a lot about the Bears, and they talk about everybody from Rome Odunze to DJ Moore to Keenan Allen to Cole Kmet to DeAndre Swift. Oh, there's only one football. But when I look at you guys and I think of Stephon Diggs, does he have the personality to fit in when you got 33 touches, including the catches by Joe Mixon and the other talented receivers you have, along with the talented tight ends? Is he a guy that's going to fit in accordingly? Or if he doesn't get his predetermined desire of touches, will this become an issue?
Won't be an issue if they run 80 plays again, because they ran 80 plays. I mean, wow. But yeah, great point.
Yeah, Nico Collins, 6 catches over 100 yards. He was amazing. Dell did his thing with a carry with 3 catches. Diggs still had 2 touchdown receptions. The whole band contributed to the sound, and Joe Mixon did what he did. So I think they call it a 5-headed monster, what they have here. And I think, you have to also add in Brevin Jordan. He actually is a pretty good player for them at tight end. Cade Stover played some fullback for them, and he's going to play some tight end, obviously, a lot of tight end. That's what he is. I think Diggs is fitting in very well. He likes it here. He likes the atmosphere. I know we talk about culture all the time in this business. Let me tell you, D'Amico Ryans, I've been in the building for a long time. I've never seen it like this. I've never seen football operations like this with this guy in charge, the positive vibes, the positive attitude. Win or lose, we're all in it together. He has family night on Tuesdays with the assistant coaches. He wants the players to be better men, husbands, fathers. He legit wants that, and I think they all feel that. And I think Diggs is part of the mix right now. These are good guys to be around. I can't anticipate that being a problem here. I think he's going to get plenty of touches, but he knows he's got eyes. He knows they have Nico Collins. He's going to be an elite receiver in this league. He already is, but the reputation hasn't quite caught up with the production yet.
Fizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are with the broadcasting crew. Andre Ware is the color analyst, but we got Mark Vandermeer and John Harris, the sideline reporter and analyst as well. All right, what do your eyes see when you see the Bears on tape?
Yeah, I always get this question. It's got to start with 18. With Caleb, because we all saw him in college. We obviously watched Hard Knocks. Of course, opponents early in the season are watching Hard Knocks with a fine-tooth comb to see, what you can pull out of there. But I think it's interesting when Tom asked about Diggs, because I think there are a lot of preconceived notions about how Diggs was going to be in a locker room with a lot of stars around him. I think the biggest thing about Diggs is he's one heck of a leader. He's one of the most vocal leaders I've seen in this organization since I've been and been here at with the Texans. I think with Caleb, the thought was, well, he's no prima donna. He's not going to be working hard. Doesn't know football. Paints his nails, all that kind of stuff. And I think what you end up finding about Caleb is that guy loves ball. He loves to play. He loves the chess match of it. He has a great time out there. He's a really good leader. Going to be a good leader for that organization. I think it's got to start there, but. When you look at their 3-headed monster wide receiver, we'll see about Rome Odunze, but DJ Moore, I think when we faced him at Carolina, he scared us to death, and we only saw him once every so often. But Keenan Allen was the guy the Texans were in on, so the Texans were pretty high on Keenan Allen. He's a Greensboro, North Carolina guy, so I got North Carolina in the family, so they'll be cheering for Keenan Allen on Sunday, so it'll be kind of tough to get over. But I think the Bears' offensive line's gotten better. Darnell Wright, Braxton Jones, I think was a little bit of a surprise a few years ago. But defensively, Sweat scares everybody, the way he comes off the edge. And I was watching something about Sweat this offseason and said once after Sweat got with the Bears, they were one of the most productive and best defenses in the league for the last half of last year. So that he's going to be roaring off the edge. I don't know that Laramie Tunsil's quite 100% totally coming off the offseason injury, and the Colts got 4 sacks. So protecting against Sweat and that defensive line. Loved Austin Booker coming out of Kansas. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player in due time. I thought the pickup of Taylor was incredible. I was watching a game the other day, and I'm like, who's 52? He's got some burst. And went, oh, that's Taylor. I'm like, man, that was a great pickup by Ryan Poles. Experienced secondary. I think those guys back there are going to be very, very good. Byard helps. Edmonds and Edwards at linebacker could really be a thorn in our side. Because Franklin and Zaire and EJ Speed for the Colts are a little lighter, faster. But I think some of the heaviness between Edwards and Edmonds, just their size, can end up being something that helps them. So to me, the Bears are a little different differently constructed than us, but I think there is so much talent at key spots that they're going to make it really tough on us to get Joe Mixon to 159 yards, for us not to get sacked 4 times. It's a really talented team. And if Caleb really gets going with making some magical plays out of the pocket, the rolling right, throwing back left, and, rolling to the sideline, spinning around and doing what he does, and you get a few plays. Tom, you talked about it. NRG Stadium is going to be jacked up. There's no question. But if Caleb does a couple of those plays and those magical things that only he can do, this place will get quiet in a hurry. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh boy, we're in a fist fight again. And that's really not where we want to be. So that's something they've got to take away. But I'm looking forward to seeing this Bears squad. It's a really talented group that we're excited to see.
I'll tell you one thing. Everybody talks about Caleb Williams around the country, and I guess that's natural. Look how the Bears won the game last week. You got to be ready for everything.
Mm-hmm.
The third phase, the defense. Look how they won games last year. I know Fields ran well down the stretch, but my goodness, you can win games in a variety of ways in Chicago, and you got to be ready for everything as the Houston Texans. But I think they'll be ready. It'll be a nice battle. The last time the Texans played in this building, regular season, well, it wasn't regular season, it was the postseason, and they dominated the Browns. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but the fans want to see it. So, yeah, it's going to be an electric atmosphere.
Just one question about the building. Is the roof repaired? And will it be open? And what is the temperature going to be inside the facility once the game starts?
I'm not telling. No, they fixed part of it for this game. Okay, so if it rained, it would not rain on the field. All right, so that's done. They might open it. They might not. Because it's based on weather. And if it's, if it looks to be in the 70s and there's no rain in the forecast, I think why not open it? But that's me. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think you will not have an uncomfortable temperature situation in the building regardless, whether it's open or closed or whatever. So I expect to have a nice evening weather-wise, whether it be indoor or outdoors at NRG Stadium Sunday night.
Can you hear the difference in the noise though with the roof open as compared to when it's closed?
Johnny can answer that better because you guys know in the booth, sometimes you don't really get the best measurement of this in an audio way. What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, when Bill O'Brien was here, and that was when I started down on the sidelines, he wanted the roof closed because he wanted that sound on top of you. And there were games back then. I mean, we played a Thursday night game against the Colts. It was the loudest I ever heard it. And I was standing right next to Shane Leckler at the time, and we were trying to talk about something that was happening on the field. I couldn't hear him. So there's a distinct difference with it open versus closed. But even at that point, I think the crescendo that will be there hopefully on Sunday. And then that's got to be something that I would think that Matt and his coaching staff are talking to them about is, look, burst that bubble early and get this crowd sitting on its hands. Like, do something early to get them sitting on their hands, and then you kind of got them where you want them. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it'll probably be a kickoff, probably 86, 87 outside at that point. So I don't think it'll be bad down on the field, but if it's open, but if it's closed, it'll be fine. You won't even sense it. And I don't even know if you can see the top of it from the booth on the 8th floor. So I think it'll end up being it'll be fine on both sides. It won't be like being in Chicago in September, but it'll be good enough for a Sunday night game.
As an offensive lineman, I'm worried about the noise because if you cannot hear the volume cadence from Caleb, it can really create some dysfunction on the line of scrimmage. So as an ex-offensive lineman, that was my concern. And I'm not a big fan of the extreme heat and humidity as well.
I don't think anybody in Houston is either, Tom. I don't think we like the humidity, but you bring up a great point in that it's only the second game of Caleb having to hear the play and then communicate it. So I would imagine in the first quarter, it's going to be pretty tough. But if the Bears hit back and, make this a tough game and start getting people in NRG Stadium a little tense, it might quiet down a little bit. So that's got to be big for them. But if they let the Texans get off to a nice little 7-0, 10-0 lead, that noise is going to amp up.
Right.
You amp up for full 60 minutes.
All right, we had fun doing that. We appreciate and respect all our fellow booths around the National Football League. We gain valuable insight, obviously, from those discussions because they're in the building like we're in the building. Again, I mentioned at the outset of that setup of the interview, the Bears on Sunday night have really struggled. Now, it's not the same team. Obviously, it changes every year, but it's a string of games that have proven to be very difficult. This will not be any easier trying to beat this Houston team in their own building, which will be rocking and rolling.
Right. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be an environment unlike rookies or first-year players have maybe never seen in their career. If you come from a small program and you never get into that big of a stadium that's packed to the roof and it's as loud as you can possibly get, they have one of these whiteout games where they want the crowd to be supportively dressed in white as everybody on the field is dressed in white. And, it's difficult, to contend with. However, if you bring a defense on the field that you have a lot of respect and you like to travel with, and the defense makes a couple big plays early in the game, and then you put the crowd into shock. Because even though the Houston Texans were so successful last year, I still think there's a little let's wait and see. Was this an anomaly, or is this going to carry over to CJ Stroud's second year in his career? So I guess it's still wait and see. They did beat Indianapolis by 2, but now it's their first home game, and the crowd's going to be excited to see.
Yeah, that was interesting to take a look at that game because they really kept the ball away. 40 minutes of time of possession. The Colts had just 20 and still put up 27 points.
Yep. Time of possession was a factor in a lot of games this week, and that's what the Bears are fighting to have more ball control. And if they can have a defense early in the game that gets them some 3-and-outs, and the Bears can compute that into one big play or maybe a physically dominated running series, then all of a sudden, that's the type of confidence you can build off of.
Yeah, well, they were limited to 3 field goals from Kaimi Fairbairn from 50+, so that took off a few touchdowns. Otherwise, it would have been a much bigger beating of the Indianapolis Colts, whom the Bears play in Week 3 in Indianapolis. One thing to wrap us up. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
One thing about Houston is they open up an Indianapolis Dome. They go home Dome. Week 3, they play Minneapolis Dome. And I know your feelings of indoor football, but
yeah, I got to adapt. I got to adapt and overcome. Yeah. Because that roof is not completely fixed down in Houston from the past hurricane earlier this summer, it is still, even if they don't open the roof, because there is a gap, it's considered an outdoor game. So if perchance there was a storm and you have to adopt the lightning delay because of that sliver of light. And apparently that sliver of light will, if it's a sunny day, there's like a patch of 10 yards of white light that is on the field, like a UFO hovering over the stadium. So you might find that it's a little warm down there, Tommy, in the building,
it's
too.
It's going to be warm. It's a daytime temperature high of 94 degrees, but luckily Hurricane Francine is going to be skirting to the northeast, so it won't give the deluge of rain that they had earlier this hurricane season. So maybe we'll get through unscathed.
Yeah, well, and it was supposed to go towards the Midwest right around our travel time, so hopefully that won't interrupt our travel plans on Saturday. Big time. All right, lastly, well, I'm a little jumpy. I'm a little jumpy on the plane. Real quick, Matt Eberflus, in his Wednesday meeting with the media, one of the first things he talked about was going to the practice field, and we're going to have a very physical practice, and he mentioned the kicking game of Houston. And I think he means special teams in general. Frank Bush, outstanding special teams coordinator. They had the number 1 ranked special teams unit in the league last year, according to those who analyze those things. That's a very good unit with a very good kicker, obviously. But I felt it is interesting that that's the first chink in the armor. Not chink in the armor. That was the first bullet that Matt Eberflus touched on was special teams toughness for this game.
No doubt about it. But, how impressed are you with the special teams performance this past week by the Bears?
100%.
Great field position on punt return, really good field position on a kickoff return, block punt for a touchdown. So if it's, their special teams going up against the Bears special teams, I think our group of guys will go toe-to-toe with them. And Coach Hightower puts a motivated group of guys out there knowing their importance in the overall success of this football team. So, hey, it's part of the battle I look forward to, and it definitely has, it definitely had a hand in the outcome of the game last week.
Vizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, right here at home, driving access toward healthier communities through it all. Should be a good time. Tom, we'll see you on Sunday. Don't be late. Special thanks to the guys from the Houston Texans and for Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, and congratulations to Tyreek Stevens. And Tom is the NFC Defensive Player of the Week for his pick 6 and overall performance. He had one Week 17 last year as well. Coming on hot.
I believe that's his first pick for a touchdown, though. When I heard him at the podium, I was blown away by that. The kid's talented, plays the cornerback position. You would have thought somewhere along the line he would have stumbled into one.
Well, hopefully we see many more. That'll do it for us. Bear down, everybody.